welcome to the Driven Career Podcast. This is a space where we talk about professional life and personal development to inspire you to overcome the challenges and grow in your career. And today, in this episode, we're going to talk with Paula Onira. She is currently living in Switzerland and experiencing an international career. In this episode, she is going to share the journey that brought her here and give us some practical tips of how to navigate the international career and also some examples of best practices to climb the ladder of the corporate world. So let's go to the episode. Hey, Paula, how are you?
Rachel, very good. Thank you for hosting me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited. I have so many questions for you that I'm sure that our listeners are interested to hear about your experience. But let's start off your introduction. Can you tell us a little bit of who you are and what do you do?
Sure. I am Paula. You said Paula Onira, Paula Pereira. I'm from Brazil. I'm a regional compliance officer today in a large commodity company. And been doing compliance for the last 10 plus years. I'm a lawyer by background, but that is a Brazilian background, and it's been around the world, I would say, for the last couple of years with my career. Yeah, I think that's a little bit about me.
Nice. Yeah, we will dive in a little bit more in your experience and everything that you were going through. But I am curious, just to start, just before we start into all of our, the conversation about your career and how you have been growing and all the things that are interesting for us to tackle. Tell me, what are the three main things that you really enjoy about living in Switzerland?
Oh, I love Switzerland. And yeah, I would say the main thing and number one that made me want to move here is the lifestyle. You very close to the nature. You have the Alps, you have the lakes and rivers, and but you also have a very good work environment, big companies, big opportunity to continue growing on your career. So yeah, I think nature, it is on the top of my list. Safety. I think
Mm-hmm.
that counts every day for everyone, right? It's being able to, as a woman, when you walk at night, rely on public transportations, any being able to travel, go and come back without any concerns. Is this safe or not safe? Is this a good time or not a good time? I think this is very important. And also the job opportunity. I moved here because of a job opportunity, and it is one of the main reasons I like to be here. It's because I really enjoy what I'm doing and where I am in my career.
That's amazing. Well, I'm still waiting for you here in Vancouver, in Canada, because I think it's a little bit similar. I never been in Switzerland, unfortunately. Um, I was supposed to be there this year, but maybe next time. But based on what you just described, I think you're gonna love BC as well. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, Paula, she has worked kind of like in different places. Can I mention that you worked in Milan? So you worked in the United States. So anyways, if you guys have questions about the differences about these places, she can read your comments later after this episode. So let's dive in a little bit more into your experience. So let's start from what inspired you to pursue an international career path, and what can you tell us about what were the biggest challenges that you faced when adapting to a new work in a new country and work culture?
So what, uh, what, how what did I wanted to do in my career? I'm a Brazilian lawyer, and when I finished law school, I didn't want it to become just one more lawyer. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to find a niche in the market. And I first started studying for some public work. In Brazil, it's a big deal, no? And then I was like, no, that's not what I really wanted. So I wanted to find a field in the legal uh, space that was new, and at the time it was a little bit onto cyber crime, all this cyber new environment. So I started to study on that, and it went back to school. finished the school. I got into compliance. That was my first job opportunity, was to in compliance, was after finishing my degree in the US. I didn't know anything about compliance at the time. I just knew that after coming back to Brazil, I wanted to work in a multinational. I wanted to continue working in a company that would allow me to continue speaking English, connected to the American legal space, because that's what I had got, just another degree. So got into compliance, and then I found very okay. This was my first goal coming out of college, to work on something that was a niche. I think that was the first time that I stepped into my first goal at the age of 20, my early 20s, and then I from there on I was growing the career, and I think after that I wanted to move abroadly again. So that was my next step. So, okay, now I'm in this new space of law, this new world. Then next, I wanted to move it abroad. This happened quite late after I started planning. You always think like, okay, now I know where I wanted to get, and that you're gonna get there quite quick. That was not the case.
That was
Took
a
many
journey,
years.
huh?
Yeah, there's a journey. There's a lot of like a try and fail. No, it
Hmm.
is, but you're learning on the process. It's really nice. Like every time you try a new opportunity, you apply for something, and if that doesn't work, that teaches you something. You get better at something. So after I think 4 years, the opportunity came to move company. So I didn't move internationally. I moved company. So I always had it. I think the goal. Okay, I know now that I'm in compliance, I started on this role. I wanted to get, how do I want to grow in my career path, like on the area that I'm working. And I knew the steps I wanted to the path I wanted to walk. But then there was the goal. At one point, this path has to take a step that is international. And the first was like growing in the positions. I in Brazil. Then I changed company. A year later, I got an opportunity that was like an opportunity of a lifetime, would pay less, would make me move to a different state, but I knew that could be the way to then move internationally. And that's what happened. Then 2.5 years later, I moved. It was my first time now going after living in the US, back in Brazil. Uh, Almost 10 years later, then I was moving
Wow.
away again. And that was to Norway. No, it was a quite an experience. Was moving from Brazil to Norway, living the lifestyle of Florianopolis, an island in the south, to the cold weather of Oslo, the other extreme on weather. And yeah, so then yeah, it was like how you think I think it was harder to adapt moving between states in Brazil than it was moving between countries. I
Oh,
don't know.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it was because of moving countries I really wanted. So I opened myself to the challenges in a different way. While moving different states, I thought I knew everything. And then when I faced challenges, I wasn't really preparing myself for that. I just thought that it's culture adaptation. It's not going to be an issue. I think that was very naive of me, because every change of countries or cities, they all bring a new challenge, right?
I have to say that I know that you always wanted, like, you always knew what you wanted. And that was so beautiful to see you navigating through your journey. And also all your strategies, maybe switching companies and just moving towards to what you wanted. And I have to say that it's just beautiful seeing that you are at where you are at today, because you just mentioned, because you learned with the process. That was so nice. But just back to what I wanted to hear from you. It's, yeah, so the biggest challenge that you faced when adapting. So now adapting to this new country and the new work culture.
Yeah, I think that is the culture, the country culture. I over the years, I'm trying to not be so connected to that idea because it's really, I think this is like when you move it to Norway, people have a different way of communicating in a meeting. They have a different way of embracing a new colleague in the team. They have a different culture from how they conducted themselves in a project. And then I moved after that, I moved to Italy, and that was different again. No, I thought like, okay, Italy is going to be very similar to Brazil. We have all this connection between the two cultures. A lot of the Brazilian culture is influenced by Italy, so it will be a known space. That was not true. They had a different work environment. I faced a different way to communicate, the way you express yourself. Sometimes I would feel like people, why are they yelling? And then I had to realize, no, they're not yelling. They're just passionate about it. But the first time you caught yourself
Yeah.
on a meeting where people started to get really loud, you get offended. And then afterward, you
Ah,
have to go back and say, no, that was not the case, you know. But how do you keep yourself in such a meeting that you get to where you wanted to get to accomplish what you were planning for that meeting without letting the culture be in the way? How do you adapt yourself to that scenario, no, without losing your identity, but also embracing the other side? And now in Switzerland was once again, it's the culture, the way people conduct business. And every company has its own company culture, right?
yes.
So,
Yes.
so
On
you,
top
you
of that,
mix
yeah.
on top of that, you have like, okay, you have how the majority of the employees work, and that kind of like it touch the make part, it's part of the identity. And then you have the company culture, no, a company that wants to be more entrepreneur, a company that wants to be more diplomatic, or a company that, and all of that is influence. So I think it is the difference of culture. I think was because the technical part of the work you learn as you go, you have experience, you can pick from different projects, from different experience you had, and then you can face, and you can always go back to the books, right? But when it comes to the culture, to the people, you have to open yourself. Yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge. Is something that I'm always watching out. You know, even, and I think even if I would go back in Brazil and I would work in an international company, I would be watching for that. You know, like what are the difference between me and this colleague that we are working together, that we have to, I don't want it to take anything personally, but I also know that we come from different backgrounds. There's a difference in culture from between every human being, right? So yeah, I think that's something that I've learned it a lot, but I continue learning. I keep my eyes
Yeah.
open.
Yeah. Oh, that's it's lovely. I always love hearing about the cultural differences because sometimes it can be shocking. Like you mentioned, like they're not yelling. They're just passionate about it. But then you go to another place that they handle conversations in a completely different manner. So you really need to adapt yourself. Like it's amazing. So, Paula, for professionals looking to break into the international job market, especially in companies with diverse teams, what strategies or mindset you believe that can make like a difference to succeed in this type of environment?
I think if I would start over, things that I look back and I saw like, oh, it helped it was this is what happened here, and I would now with informative way walk back this path. I think if you want to go internationally, you have to be an international company. I think that would be my first goal, right? How like breaking through from I don't know, as a lawyer, if you work in a small law firm that doesn't have international customers, it's really hard. So I think whatever you are, how do you direct it to connect it to an international, where's the international touching point? I think once you have that, then I would say you dive in, you become you help solving problems. You become someone that people can rely on. You know, you're available. You don't just you walk the extra mile. I think that is is a way, like you engage yourself. If there's an opportunity, you offer to support. I was listening to one of other podcasts, and I really connected to the speaker on that, because I could say, yes, you have to speak to your managers. My managers, they always knew I wanted to grow. I was pursuing an international opportunity. So they never felt betrayed when I applied or when I tried something. They were giving me good feedback. I applied for positions which I had managed to come to me on a coffee and say, look, I don't think that's for you. I don't think you're ready. And that was really nice, because sometimes I had many times I had the wrong perception of of that position. So being able to have the support of your manager or a mentor in the company. So I think so I would look to move to any country. And I don't think that's just Brazil internationally. No, if I wanted to go from any other country to another culture, you have to open yourself for speak about it, tell about that. Make yourself available when the opportunity comes. You don't follow, oh, is this big or is this a small thing? If it's a chance to work with the international project, because sometimes you may be support on an international project and thinking, okay, this is how it happened to me moving from Norway to Italy. I thought I was building my career to stay in Norway. The project I was working was worldwide, but the opportunity came to move on to Italy. No, and I was open. I was open for the opportunity to stay and grow on my knowledge in the European market, in the European landscape. So yeah, I think dive in, lead, go on, be supportive, be someone that people think, oh, she will help solving the problem.
Yeah, that gives you visibility, right? So I think it's a trial for you to kind of get a sense of how the work could be, or that gives an opportunity to others to see how you would perform in your next step. And I love hearing that you had good leaders, Paula. You were very I think that is very it is a bless when we have good leaders that guide you on, or whenever they, like you said, I don't think this is for you. Because have you ever felt like sharing your aspirations about work internationally could be a threat for your leadership or to anyone else around you where you were in the past? Did you ever experience this, or this was not part of your journey?
I it was that there were situations that I could say a manager leader would hold me back on that. But I think you don't have to be a broken record, right? That you're always repeating, I want to go international, I want to go international, that you're not showing commitment where you are at the moment.
Hmm.
This is also important, right? I think there's a time for such a conversation. Oh, when you're going through your annual review, when you're setting your goals for the year, and you come around that questions about where do you want to do, how do you see yourself growing, and then sometimes it's even a way that so sometimes depending on the team you are, there's no opportunity coming up on that team. Then you're giving your manager a way out because you're saying, look, I know that the opportunity here will not come soon, but this is what I'm looking to go. So there you go again. It's the solution oriented, right? You're seeing that, and if a project comes up and you wanted to participate, and you also don't want to give the impression, I'm ready to leave you at any time. No, because
Yes.
there's someone counting on you. You're delivering on a part of a team. You don't want to be the one that is like you start to ending your opportunities where you are because you're so focused on something that is in a different location, different team, that your manager starts. So I don't know if we can never say that it was the manager that hold you back, but how do you we hold ourselves back on if we don't balance, where I want to be in the future, which is unknown, and where I am right now, where the opportunities are happening right now, right? Because like I said, the opportunity to move it abroad didn't come right away. I had to grow. I grew a lot in my own career. I think I don't know how is the market now in Brazil, but I think when you're in the beginning of the career, getting an opportunity to move abroad, it, it's harder because you
Yeah.
don't have the experience. So when you're in an entry position, what you offered, it's very likely that they can find that in a young person at their country of where the position is open. So you have to grow, you have to continue feeding that environment where you are in, growing yourself on that role, making yourself okay. If that doesn't happen, I'm still going to grow. Going international was one goal, but growing in my career of compliance, wasn't linked to where I was going to be placed. It was a path I was ready to continue. So yeah, but I think managers, leaders, participation is crucial. Uh, I don't know. Maybe I was fortunate. The companies I work for, they had good HR process or setting the goals. Not always is very measurable. My area, it's not an area easy for KPIs or anything like that. But wasn't much about the goals of the day-to-day work that I was looking for, was the opportunity to talk about me. You sit with your manager and you're talking about your personal growth. You're not talking about the project, the deliveries. When this is done, you're talking about you. So I think that was any. So yes, I think that's what I would tackle. I felt that I had good. Yeah, I am what I am because I had great leaders, great leaders. Great woman there, uh, men too that support me. I wouldn't say the bad managers, but the tough managers, the not so positive, they also helped me.
Yes. They help shape you.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think you can't grow in the corporate without going through the traps of the corporate, the
Yeah.
politics, the projects, the recruitments that are open but have already been decided before being open. And those situations help you manage your emotions, your expectations, help you grow in. So I think for the good and bad.
Wow. Yeah, there's so much we could unpack just from there. Like you were
Sure.
speaking, and so much was coming to mind. But I just want to highlight that it is important to demonstrate your aspiration, but you had a privilege to work with good leaders and great
Yeah,
companies. And as you said, it's not that you're going to just be repeating yourself all the time. You take the opportunity to exceed where you are at and share that aspiration for any type of growth, right, Paula? Because one thing that is important to mention as well is that we talk about work and projects and all of our corporate goals the entire year, but we cannot neglect to mention or talk about our personal growth. And that's the moment when you need to talk with your leader, talk with your manager about how you want to grow, where you want to grow, and the support you need for that. Because I think we tend to focus so much just into the work, which is okay, which is right. We are there to work, but also we have time and or carve some time to mention about that. If your company doesn't have those process in place where you talk about your career growth, you need to be strategic, and then you have to find a way to talk about that. So the opportunity will come at the right time, and they will know what you want. But anyways, we need to succeed and exceed at the work we are doing at the moment, right?
totally, totally. And I, when you were talking now, I remember that in one of the beginning of my career, the big company I was working, they had a mentorship program that I think no one was using it. It was a forgotten paper in the intranet. And
Mm,
I knew about mentorship as something that I like. And so one day looking at the internet, I found that document and I wrote it to someone very senior on the organization. And I was someone very young at the organization. And I just throwed myself out there, and my goal at that, I was like, if I get one meeting with that person, if I get him to reply to my email, that's already a goal. No, I could be sitting and just waiting, and it probably he would never know who I was. But then finding that document online, I wrote to the person, and he replied. No,
Wow.
I went exactly. So I was very young, no, no background, and he probably was mentoring very senior people, right? So my what are the odds that he would reply to who was I? No. So I said
Hmm.
exactly that. I'm in a very beginning of my career, in entry level. I am sure you're mentoring very more senior people. But if I could only get the opportunity to meet with you and learn from one conversation, I would really appreciate. And it was this transparency, I think, that got him like, who's this girl? She has the audacity to even
Yeah,
email me.
you were bold. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it,
And
and
he
it,
opened
it
the door.
happened.
You got the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
You passed through the secretary, the executive secretary to get you connect.
Exactly. I knew when I had he said, sure, if you can get to your name on my agenda with my secretary, we will meet. And I knew then was my second goal. And that was tougher than him. But he did it. And so I think that is like when you know what you want and you're looking for, how can I act in a way that I shine different than others, to know how can I
Yeah.
find something that is going to be unique about me. And there's always like any find those mentorship program, leadership, talking to senior people in the organization. I know everybody's open to, if they feel that you want to learn from them, that you admire them, everybody's open to that, right? It's very, maybe not everybody, but the majority of people will spend a minute and give an advice, and then there you go, you make your first connection.
Yes. You had the attitude. Well, first of all, you found something and you were like making a use of something that not everyone were looking at. So they had a mentorship program. And then secondly, you just went forward to this and then you were connecting with someone very powerful. That is definitely a great way of networking and great way of approaching, right? You just want to learn and you took the opportunity. Very good. Well, and probably that's the reason because of your attitude, Paula, you've been successfully growing your career. So what can you say that it's been the most valued skills and traits? You just mentioned one of them, but what else can we unpack out of this in terms of what was like the most valued skills or traits when it comes to climbing the corporate ladder, regardless of where in the world you are working?
I think on skills, I like on a quick thoughts, like on the spot, I think this would apply to any career, but I would say stay up to date. Someone that is informed, it is always up it is good to don't you so I always kept updated with the law, with the areas I was working on, with the networking, taking courses on my area. I think that always that helps you connect to other colleagues that are growing in the same area as you, and you can learn from them. I think keeps you updated, keeps you sharp. No, and you don't want to, you can't relax because people are coming out of school, they're coming out of other courses, other classes. So you needed to recognize that people out there, they're good people out there. So why would they
Yeah.
choose you? And you have to bring that to the table.
Yeah, it's high
I
high
think
competitive, hey?
really, really, and really good people out there. I think language. I wanted to work internationally, so you need the language, and you needed to dive in, and you needed to do the hard work. I remember I was never good at in English in school, and I tried at everything, and it didn't work. After law school, I went on an internship because I was like, okay, what I want to do it, I need English. Like who grows in their job, like if you have aspirations, if you have ambitions professionally, you need the language, right? So I was like, and I'm not good. Okay, so then what do I do with that? I'm not learning on this course in Brazil. I needed to really throw myself out there. And then I went out, did an internship, learned the language. And then when I moved to Europe and I wanted to work in Europe, I was like, come on, here everybody speaks more than one language. Now they speak their own
Mm-hmm.
language. And another one. And then
Yeah.
now we're speaking three languages. It's normal. Nobody gets
Yeah.
impressed about
Kids are
that.
speaking three languages.
Yeah, exactly. The parents, each one speak a language. They speak between themselves English. Then there's, so I was like, okay, I having just my native language and English, I become again the standard. It's not bad, but it's the standard.
Hmm.
Now, where do I want to get? Do I get there being standard? That and then I was like, no, I need to add a language. So then you go, and it then doesn't matter how busy you are, and you you dive into the next one. Maybe if you had more time, if I had more time, I would have learned it easier and quicker. But if even with the little time I had it, I think so. Keeping yourself updated. If you want to go international, you have to grow language. You have, and today there's so many ways, time and cost is not is an excuse right now.
Yeah.
So, oh, but I'm good with languages. I was never good with languages. Still not good with languages.
But I know you speak more than two languages, three languages
Now I
nowadays.
do, but it's
Yeah.
still every time that I
Yeah.
start the next one, I remember how this is not something that come easy to me. It is no. Some people have that gift, right? They can learn language. Uh, to me,
Well,
it doesn't go that way.
but that's good that you were very aware of that. So you know you need to put much more effort, right?
Totally, totally. And I know I can do it. I think as you
Yes.
go on, you build that confidence, I know I can do it. If I'm not there yet, it's because I'm not studying enough. It's because I'm not putting enough time. Because if I was giving what it takes, I would learn it. So yeah, I think those are the any on the soft skills. I think if you have to embrace who you are, if you try to be someone completely different, then you are acting on, then you have to put energy on the that personality that you're trying to sell, and the work that has to be done.
Good
And I
one.
think, I think when you learn it, like when you get comfortable on your own, on your skin, no, then you still, you have to adapt. You have to look at the place where you are, people that you're meeting. Is this, no, am I being too relaxed, too Brazilian, too making too many jokes, too relaxed, and I should be a little bit more tied up? It's always, no, you have to, but even when you're like, okay, yes, I should be, no, be a little bit more formal, is still be formal on your in your natural way, So yeah, I think more comfortable you are with who you are, then more people can really get to know you, and or they like or they don't. But it's not always
Yes.
that they will like that. But at least you are not too worried about that, that those are things that I think I try to remind myself of that when I'm if I'm trying to act in a way that I feel like I'm putting up a certain character that it's not, and then I hold up, be yourself. And yeah, it's always help.
I think it's regardless where we are working at. It can be the cultural difference, but it can be anywhere because we are people and we are different, and we just learn from each other because we are different, and this is how we also add to the team. But really find that fine balance to the environment, kind of read the room. I think, what do you think about that? Reading the
Yeah, yeah.
room helps
It's really good.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does help you, like going in the meeting room and knowing like, okay, this is a place where we're going to do a lot of like a laid back conversation, or are we going to jump straight to the topic? And I don't know. I also maybe I like it, so I do it in an easy way. But I read a lot. Like I find books that are related to culture, to how like a culture difference, how to influence in the environment of work, and the story about others that have succeeded on their career. So, and I find really good tips on those things, on those books, and then I try to carry them as I go. And in learning, something works, something doesn't stick to mind, others will, and then yeah. then again, it's you keep yourself sharp, you learn, you find the tools that are out there, then you connect to the room, connect to the culture of the company, of the country where you are at. Like I can be easily late. This is
Mm-hmm.
as much as I want to be on time, and I try, and I find that I for a Brazilian I would be on time, but maybe for other cultures no. Then I moved to Switzerland, where being on time is being late. So here the
Oh,
meeting
that's
starts at
new for
9.
me.
You log in at 8:58. 9 we start talking, and of course, I got it here. And that was like, okay, I'm always 2 minutes late. And this is the type of late I'm talking, right? And then you have to adapt. It's not the counter. I should not be excusing myself in every single meeting and blaming my culture. It's like now I'm
Or
here. This is
yes.
the culture where I am. This is how it works. You adapt and you cut a meeting short. Okay, I have to go. My next meeting is about to start. And you log into your meeting 2 minutes before. Not always perfect. I'm still very Brazilian, but now the majority is 2 minutes before. So
I love you talk about the books as well because the learning process is so important and you are in a leadership position, Paula. And I think is it can be the books or it can be even like just learning as much as you can about the values of your own company. So you also adapt to that style from your own company, especially when you're leading others. You want to just follow things the way that they're supposed to be in that environment. So we kind of like trying to here, this is our values in this company. You try to adapt to that. Initially, you're supposed to be hired because your values are a good fit for that. And then you want to make sure that you are embracing and cultivating as you work with your peers and your reports.
yes, definitely, definitely. I think so. I'm in compliance, right? So every company has in their value integrity, responsibility. It's a very easy, like I can really find that value that is like, okay, this, then that become what you use for training and all that. But that's not the only value of the company.
Yeah.
And you get at one point that almost become like, okay, but is that all you bring to the table? What are the other values, right? And now the company I am at, one of their values is entrepreneurship. So you cannot be an entrepreneur if you're slow. You have to be always thinking new business, new possibility. How do I move? And you have to connect. That's the business value, right? And then adapting yourself to that, connecting yourself to that is the way that you succeed in the organization where you are. This is, I think, that is a very good tip on like to look at the company and say, okay, will I connect it to that? These are their values, and I'm sure few, if not one, maybe few of their values connected to the core business of the organization, how they run
Mm,
business, right? Uh, and then looking at that and seeing, okay, is that something that I connected to? I find myself like, I wanted to improve on that, become more a professional that is in ethics, but it's big learn like, okay, being more entrepreneurship, entrepreneur, like supporting the business on that, growing and finding new business, also not being afraid of, can I connect to that? And then you even like, yeah, I do. That was one of the things like that. I really appreciate that. So definitely, I think it is important to understand the organization you're going to. It's not just a compliance is compliance everywhere. It's not. Depends on the company, the laws, the ethicals, and all that. The code of conduct it is, but how do you plug that to the organization? Then there's different, and I think that is for every career, every other professional. No, you have your area of expertise, which is connected to a degree, to a background of school studies and all that. But then you are connecting to something bigger, right? And you
yeah.
understand why connected to that is very important.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that because especially for your role being a leader, it's on top of that, you are embracing and just adapting to a culture because you're working in a different country. you're also making sure that your team and you're basically an ambassador of, the culture and the values of the company. So we want to make sure that everyone, they are all on the same page. And that is it's a big responsibility for the leaders as well. Well, just before we go, we are just at the end of our episode. Paula, I always like to ask to my guests, what piece of advice, takeaway you would like to leave with our listeners from this episode today?
I think preparing for meeting with you, looking back, connecting to like looking at my career path and now talking to you, I think it's a very cliche maybe way of saying, but we are responsible for our own future. I think it's not our organization responsibility. It's not the economy of the country responsibility. We are responsible for that. Now, so you can thrive in any environment you are. Depends on how, if you says, okay, what is my next small step towards my big goal? So I would say it's don't excuse yourself from the situation that's around you. Now, if you know where you want to get it, what are the small steps you have to get there, and you just work hard for that. Any, it's not all, you're not gonna get all the, no, you reap off your soul what you sow, but you not always reap where you have sowed something. So I
Mm-hmm.
think like if you're working hard, if you're giving of the best of you, if you engage it with, maybe things will come around, opportunities will show, and if they show and you are watching for that and you jump in, you will progress. So I would say, if I would give an advice on anyone is starting or want something, I would say don't blame the outside for things not working out. You make things work out, and it can take years, but sometimes it's right there, right at the corner, so you have to prepare yourself, and don't stop studying, reading, improving, learning language, courses, stay up to date of what is the market looking for. Like you check
Yeah.
is what are the what okay, if I would look for a job today, what are they looking for out there? Is my resume up to date? Always you don't relax, you're not you always on top of that, like could I do I express myself the way I wanted to express myself? Can I present myself as the professional I wanted to be? So yeah, this is a continuous and a never-ending work, I would say.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah, I totally agree. I think ownership is essential. It's a key. So always moving forward, we will always face challenges, but we can blame others. I think there are so many things that we need to take the ownership and really go forward. Be strategic, right?
Yep, yep.
Well, Paula, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for sharing so much insights here in our episode today. Yeah, I just wish you much more success where you are at today. And thank you for joining our episode.
Thank you, Rach. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. And for everyone that tuned in, thanks. I hope you guys like this episode today. And as I always mention, if you would like to hear more about this topic, if there's anything else that you guys would like to know more about, just feel free to leave your comments. I'm always reading all of them and working, trying to tackle as much as I can in the next episodes. And if you are one of those people aspiring for international career, need some help, create a strategy, take a look in our description here and you see some links that you can connect, and also you will see Paula's profile, so you can also connect with her directly and on LinkedIn. Well, we will come back next week for another amazing episode, and until then, stay driven.
Stay driven.